What a treat. Welcome back to the Elevate series. I'm here with Dr. Shawn Dill, who I was introduced to by one of our other speakers in the Elevate series, Mark B. Murphy. And what a treat it was the day that I got to meet you, Shawn, and Lacey, of course, who I absolutely adore and respect. And I just want to thank you so much for being here because I really deeply respect who you are in the world and the values that you stand up for. Very hardworking individual, good to the core. You've built up your chiropractic practice, now expanding through the nation, becoming an investor, serial entrepreneur. You also have the Black Diamond Club, which I was able to experience. And just honestly, your community is amazing. I mean, you really attract in high caliber individuals that are out to really change the world in a positive way. So I want to thank you because I really want to pick your brain. I've seen a lot shifting in entrepreneurship as it relates to AI, especially what's going on with people's cognitive overload and overwhelm and just the pressures to adapt. And I just want to have like a conversation to ask you, what are you seeing and experiencing, and what would you be recommending to entrepreneurs to move forward in a more positive way? So thanks for being here.
Thank you, Amber. And likewise, I super appreciate any time that we can spend together and equally inspired by all of the people that you are constantly helping. I just run into people all the time and they're like, "Hey, do you know Amber?" And I'm like, "How do you know Amber?" And so you're obviously doing a fantastic job. And thank you for putting together this series, for thinking about not just people who are compensating you monetarily, but are compensating you energetically by showing up, by engaging, and looking to you for inspiration. So I'm really honored to be a part of this discussion.
Thank you. Well, may I put you in the hot seat, sir? And I want to start by just asking, what have you been seeing and hearing, especially in the last, let's say, 60 days? Any conversations that you've had, trends that you're seeing, just something that stands out to you as unusual, or what people are talking about in your circles? I'd be really curious, anything you're open to sharing.
Man, I don't know anything about like the pattern alignment, the solstices. I don't know anything about astrology, but I definitely feel like there's some sort of energetic shift. And I don't mean that necessarily in a good way, that is going on out there in the world. And it's fascinating to me because I've lived through this period where I feel like what we're living, and we talk about sentiment, I feel like the consumer, the public, and the entrepreneur sentiment doesn't necessarily align up and match reality. I think that we feel like, or we're maybe even being fed information that is dark, that is trying to make us feel a little bit negative. But I think that if we tune in and we look for signs, there's plenty of signs of hope, inspiration, of comeback, of turnaround, but for whatever reason, we're just mismatched on that. So yeah, I feel like a lot of people are very sort of down and not able to see their way out. Listen, and it happens to all of us. We all go through these periods. There's personal periods like that, and there's business periods like that. But yeah, I think that right now, for whatever reason, the sentiment is down, but I don't necessarily agree that the signs are proving that we should be so down.
Yeah. So some of the things that I have been aware of, I mean, one is there was a Goldman Sachs report that said 300 million jobs will be replaced by AI by 2030. Then there was a report by Dell that said 85% of the jobs in the marketplace by 2030, the same year, haven't even been invented yet. So AI is really accelerating things. And when we were talking to Dr. Tiwa, who's a double board certified psychiatrist, and then Dr. Ryan Williamson, who's a board certified neurologist, and also Chad Lefebvre, we were talking about this, that the human brain, right, doesn't want change. It's afraid of change. So to your point, our amygdala is being hijacked, right, which is our fear center. And we hear these data reports and we think, I don't know enough about AI. Is AI going to replace me? What does our future look like? Like, we don't even know how to predict what's going to happen. And that's when I think people get down, a little hysterical, anxious. We see other influencers posting about it, and it seems like they're advancing, but we're not. I mean, it's a really tricky time. Now, my feeling about it, Shawn, is that we have to then rest back on our values and our beliefs. And, we have to change our approach to something that's more, grounded in what we believe and take better care of ourselves. But I'm curious, I mean, how would you respond to what you just said of people being down and kind of not taking this as well? What would you recommend?
It's just uncertainty based off, and you bring up some really good points of uncertainty based off of the future. And, you can only control right now. So if you believe that AI is a thing, you need to be educated and start your education process on that. I don't think that AI, at least for the people that we would be speaking to, is coming to replace anyone that would fall into our community, so to speak. Yeah, I think if you are, driving a truck, or if you're stocking shelves, or there are some jobs that AI will replace. But I also agree. I mean, it's going to open up a whole new realm of jobs that have to program, control, think, design, develop, manage the AI technology. That's one thing that I will point out. Like, when we use this term artificial intelligence, one of the things that's kind of tricky is the term intelligence. Um, you know, ChatGPT doesn't just wake up and start saying, "Hey, Amber, here's what you need to be thinking about today." I find it interesting because, if you leave this live and you scroll through Instagram, Facebook, social media, here's what I guarantee you is that within 3 minutes, you're going to find some entrepreneur sharing their prompts. Hey, here's my prompts for. So this is interesting because the artificial intelligence still needs to be prompted. There's a reason why they're called prompts, because it doesn't actually just wake up and think on its own. It needs prompting. So this is good news, right? It's not just coming here to replace you. However, I do think that we should be threatened by the fact that somebody who knows how to use AI could come to replace you. But that's no different than at any other time. Somebody developed a prompt, and I apologize. I should have brought it here for everybody. But one of my clients developed, he's very strong in AI, developed a prompt. What would Shawn say? Or a GPT. It's a GPT, not a prompt. It's a GPT. So you could, activate the GPT and then ask it, and it's programmed to think
Well,
like me. And that's interesting, but it still needs prompted. You still got to ask it. It doesn't just come on. Like, you couldn't necessarily interview the GPT here. It still requires. So I can't be replaced, but I could be replaced by somebody who's using, for example, that GPT coupled with their own experience, and then saying, I'm bringing my life experience plus the Shawn GPT. But I just have to work to stay ahead of that, right? Why don't I have my own GPTs? I have to utilize AI to strengthen my offerings, but I don't personally feel like it's coming to replace me. The other thing is that, what do I say to people, that might find themselves in that situation? And it really does that, because when you gave the Goldman Sachs statistic, I was like, yeah, shoot, but what about the job? So thankful that you did. Like, there are so many jobs today that people didn't even imagine would exist. So here's the good news: like, we're going into a realm where there's going to be so much opportunity, and opportunity are like doors. They open and they close. Some doors are closing right now, and we can get stuck on those doors closing. Other doors are opening. I was listening to a clip. If you go right now on Instagram, I think it was on his particular channel, Tim Story was sharing today about the word breakthrough. And I loved this because when I speak about doors and doors, opportunities closing and opening, many of us feel right now that we're in a difficult time. Listen, in certain areas of my life, I feel like I am in a difficult time. And when we look out into the world, we can see opportunities. these doors that open, and everybody is going to get a break. Everybody gets a break. We could get a break financially, we could get a break personally, we could get a break in business. Like, hey, you caught a good break, Amber. But it's not a breakthrough until you decide to move forward. So it's not a break sit, it's not a break stand, it's not a break watch, it's a breakthrough. So one of the things that I think that I would say to people is, oftentimes fear tends to paralyze us. Fear is just frozen energy. So you mentioned like getting out and going on a hike. Now, why would that help? Well, yes,
Oh my gosh.
connecting to nature, first light, etc. But one of the keys is that it involves movement. You have to move through, you have to break through. And so I would suggest to people, listen, recognize that fear. It's okay. And I don't know of anybody who right now is like, no, I have all the answers. I know exactly what the current crypto market's going to do. I know exactly what the economy is going to do. I know exactly I know the next sales process. It's not a funnel. It's due diligence. People don't know, and that's okay. But you can't allow that fear to freeze you, and you have to stand up and you have to learn how to break through and focus on the through. We're all going to get breaks, but not all of us are actually going to go through to the other side.
Wow, there was a lot there. Thank you for sharing all of that. I think that when fear pops up, people have a tendency to want to hide from it. So they'll avoid it, they'll escape it in some way, and that's not going to create the breakthrough. I mean, I think the breakthrough is by facing it, like leaning into what's difficult. I mean, that's why I named my company NGNG. It stands for No Guts, No Glory. I wanted to always remember that when I am scared, which happens all the time, I'm a little scaredy cat. I'll admit that out loud, Shawn. I mean, when I grew up, I was bullied. I wasn't well liked. I didn't know how to make friends. And so that makes a person insecure. And so when I stuck my neck out into the world and used my voice, it wasn't easy for me. It wasn't easy for me to walk out and speak in front of thousands of people on a stage. But I do think it's important to recognize that each of us has courage. It's inside of you. It's already there. You just need to activate it and then use it consistently to really build momentum and have that breakthrough, to your point. I want to go back to AI just for a moment, because I mean, just sharing to help people, what I have learned about AI is that it's only as good as the context that you feed it and the quality of your questions. Those two things, the context you feed it and the quality of your questions. I think that would be my recommendation of where to start with AI, even before which tool is best. And, I think you just kind of need to throw yourself into it and get used to it. But see if you can learn how to provide better context. A lot of times when I'm in a conversation with somebody, Shawn, it's like they jump to the point, but then they haven't told me how they arrived there. And I'm sitting here thinking, what are they trying to communicate right now? And I have to ask clarifying questions to unwind it. So I think we could probably all get a little bit better at how to provide context. I think we could all get better at the quality of the questions that we ask. And then I loved what you said about how can AI strengthen my offers as opposed to having it replace me. So I'm curious, Shawn, you're an investor, you have multiple businesses, and you're really plugged into a lot of different networks. Is there any other advice that you could give us about what you're seeing or hearing or personally doing to pivot your company, or different practices that you're adopting? Anything like that you want to share?
First of all, can we go back to the AI piece just for one more thing?
Yeah.
Context and quality of the questions is essential, but for our viewers, one of the things that I don't think people really fully comprehend is that it's artificial intelligence. It's not omniscient. And that's a really interesting thing to contemplate, because
Mhm.
the AI has to pull from a data set of information that is not infinite. In fact, the AI models have to be trained. They use training sets. And one thing that was interesting is, prior to DeepSeek, ChatGPT was on about a 3 or 4 year lag as far as its
I
training.
recall. Yes. Yep.
And so this is crazy. It's like we're talking to somebody who's been in a coma for the past 4 years, and we're asking them for advice. Now, when DeepSeek came out, OpenAI advanced the training immediately and brought that up to date. But here's what's interesting. So you have two things that are running in AI. You have the general knowledge panel, which is the global training that the AI has been trained on. But then you have your specific knowledge panel that's personal to you. This is how it's keeping track. And you've seen a lot of people who use it a lot. The memory gets full and it's memorized bizarre things, and you have to go in there and tell it, don't remember that, remember this, etc. But one of the things I think is important for us, and I also just want to do a pivot. Amber, if you've ever heard me speak, talking to me sometimes like a Quentin Tarantino movie. There's all these different acts that are all sort of running simultaneously. But earlier you said we had the Black Diamond Club, but at the beginning of the year, we rebranded. And so it's not called the Black Diamond Club. It's called the Adaptable Entrepreneur. And so in January, we rebranded to the Adaptable Entrepreneur because I hold a belief in two ways. So one is, as far as what I stand for, personally, I stand for a world where health and success are known as fundamental truths rather than fundamental pursuits. Both things. I believe that the only way that the human body gets sick is when our bodies fail to adapt to its environment, either internally or externally. So if it's too cold and your body can't adapt, you can get hyperthermia. But internally, if you have too much stomach acid and your body cannot adapt, you get acid reflux. As long as you're constantly in a state of perfect adaptation, you're able to maintain homeostasis and you would never get sick. But I also believe that for us as human beings, the only way that we run into trouble is when there's interference, that we were designed to be successful, abundantly successful. And then we run stories in our minds. We make bad decisions. I've made plenty of bad decisions that serve as interference to my natural state of being successful. So I believe that right now is a time for entrepreneurs to be adapting your marketing, adapting your sales, and adapting your mindset in an effort to adapt to your environment, both internal and external, in order to maintain the health of your business. All of that to say, back to the AI. You must learn one of the adaptations. You must learn how to feed the global knowledge panel. My prediction is that by the end of 2025, ChatGPT will surpass Google as the #1 search source in the world. So that means that people are going to go on to ChatGPT and say, who should I hire as a business coach? What's the best pizza in Naples? It's going to, because it's conversational. That's how people are using it. So in adapting for business, my question is, how well are you feeding the global knowledge panel? Because yes, context and the quality of your questions are important, because that will get us the right output from the AI. However, in business, what is critical is the right input. So AI is leveraging mostly the web. It's leveraging and accessing your websites, information about you, blogs, and it leverages social media, which is still the web. So you have to begin, if you're trying to be adaptable, and maybe you feel this little bit of, oh, I don't know what to do. Well, one thing I would suggest is you must begin to feed the machines. I have a blog at adaptapreneur.com. That's my new website, adaptapreneur.com. I also have a Medium and a Substack. I will say very openly on this, I don't care about subscribers. I don't care. You can look at it if you want. But the reason why we are publishing content on Medium, Substack, and on that blog is to feed the machine. And so when you look at it, you're like, this content is meant to create bias because the AI is biased, is used to create bias in the AI world far in advance of it surpassing Google and YouTube as the #1 search source. So that when that does happen, that there is a mountain of information that AI already has access to. That, Amber, is what I call adapting, trying to be ahead of the current and understanding, listen, I get context and quality, and I get that my prospects may ask ChatGPT, is Shawn Dill legitimate? But I have to have done my work ahead of that to convince ChatGPT because it is not omniscient. It is not omniscient. And I think that's one of the things. It's not that intelligent. It just pulls from data and can do it fast, but it doesn't think on its own yet. Maybe it will. And it also relies on in a select subset of data. And one of the things too, you have to be careful is you feeding your ChatGPT client information is updating your local knowledge panel. That doesn't mean that it's influencing me when I'm asking it things about Amber. So if you're going on and saying, I'm so great, I am the best coach, everyone turns to me, you're updating your local panel. But when I ask it about Amber, it has to go out into the global knowledge panel. And that's one thing I would suggest. I think everybody is really, really benefited if you're working in a world where people search for you, look for you, to really study how can I influence the global knowledge panel, because I don't want to be a victim of an AI bias. I want to be a victor by manipulating that bias in my favor.
I love that soundbite. That was awesome. And that's such a great point that not many people are talking about. So I really value that you are throwing that into the mix, Shawn. I'm curious how we can prioritize all of the things that we, do I dare say, should be doing right now in order to give ourselves the best chances moving forward, right? Is it health? Is it feeding the machine? Is it still video marketing so that people are seeing me and interacting with me? Is it building network? Is it something else? Like what priorities would you offer to entrepreneurs through your lens?
That just depends on when you ask, how can we prioritize? So our day is about prioritization and reprioritization on the fly, because there is no day that runs perfectly to plan. When we started this, you said to me, like, hey, do we have a hard stop at the top of the hour? And I was like, well, I mean, because I know people that are like, yes, like, what am I going to just drop the transmission at the top of the hour? No. But what I will do is, if we were to run over, I will have to learn to reprioritize, right? So we're constantly in this prioritization and reprioritization. I will also add that anytime that we get stuck with our priorities, that by definition is overwhelm. Overwhelm is simply not knowing the next logical step. So when we have, and you say, and maybe for some people, when you were like, should I do videos or AI? And then you start to feel that like I have overwhelm. For me, one of the greatest ways to overcome overwhelm is to have mentorship and coaching. Because someone from the outside who's not you, because to you just feels like you need to do it all, and you need to do it all now. But having a third party that can look in from the outside and say, listen, let's just move the needle, because of the 5 things that you want to do, 3 of them actually won't even move the needle. They're nice, but they're not going to generate revenue or advance the ball. Here are the 2 things that would move the needle, and this is the one thing that would move the needle most. So let's now prioritize that. And then let me talk about what we do with the other 4, because that's where that overwhelm is. Well, what about the 4 things that I'm not going to do? Well, now we have things like delegation, we have scale opportunity. We can look for opportunity to maximize our efforts. I will just throw this in. I don't know why, but for somebody who's out there thinking this, is I get a lot to people that say to me, but Amber, nobody could do it as good as me. And they say that to me a lot. Like I'll tell them, listen, we just need to hire someone that will help you write your book. Well, I don't want to do that, because like nobody will be able to do it like me. It won't come out like me. And I always ask them, but okay, but what if it came out 80% you? Like, what if I found somebody that could perform at 80% of your level? What if I found 2 people that could perform at 80% of your level? Then I actually, if you think about it, I have 160% Amber production from these 2 subset people. Like, look at these jokers, they're only 80%. But if I have 2 of them, I can outwork Amber. And Amber believes no one can do it like me. And here I have 2 B players, but I can do 160% of her with my 2 B players. And so sometimes I get it. We all think that we're A+ players, but sometimes there's something to be said about scale with B players, because we can actually get more productivity out of that. That's where those other 3 items on my priority list, why not assign those to B players and I get 80% production? Because look, to be honest, you are about to get 0% production because you can't do them all at the same time. And so when we understand the math behind that, sometimes it makes it a little bit easier to comprehend. I'm not needing perfection on these next 3 things on my list, because me as my A plus, my coach told me to prioritize 1 and 2, but 3, 4, and 5, I'm going to have the B people on my team go ahead and tackle that. And you know what? At 80% success with 3, 4, and 5, that sure beats 0% success with me. And so hopefully that's helpful. I have no idea why that got sent to me, but I wanted to share it.
Hey, always trust that instinct. Absolutely. Well, and to kind of piggyback off of that, I think, and we talked about this before we went live, the number one thing I want people to do is just protect their health and well-being. Because when you are exhausted and overwhelmed and stretched too thin, or you're living in this fear anxiety state, you're not making clear decisions. You're not making aligned decisions. And it's really hard to emotionally connect with other people when you're not taking care of yourself. So to me, that kind of feels like priority number one. And I was sharing with Shawn that I went out on Tuesday. Instead of working all day, I went on a hike in the Rocky Mountains, and I had so many breakthroughs on that hike because I was taking care of me and giving myself space to just process a lot of the information that's been coming in. So I definitely am going to advocate for that. And the second thing that I'm going to advocate for is using your voice. Especially in my world. I mean, I launch books, Shawn, so it's like all about authors and speakers and how you're presenting yourself on social media. I feel like a lot of people right now are not using their voice as much because they're observers. They're waiting to see what happens, and maybe they're taking little micro actions. But I want those people to like open up and share their observations and what the change they want to see in the world, and activate communities. I think this is an incredible time for leadership. Just like when the market goes down, investors buy. It's like, if there's this instability, I want the leaders to rise up. This is your time. So Shawn, I do desire to get you out of here on time. We have about a minute. So if we go over, it's your fault. But I do want to just open mic it for you. Is there anything else that you want to share to entrepreneurs right now in general? Just open mic.
Yeah, I just think that we all have a destiny, Amber. We all have a greater purpose. We need to find that particular purpose and understand that there will be storms. And like the buffalo, you get through the storm faster by running towards it. Get through it. You got to get your breakthrough. On the other side of pain is always glory. We just don't stay stuck in that pain too long. We all are going to have it. So anybody that tuned in today and you're looking for, like, maybe they'll say something that'll move me through. There's nothing that we could say that would move you through. It's only what you can do to just get through that process. I've never seen anybody write a book listening to Amber videos. You got to do something. You got to type it on your keyboard or pick up your pen. I've never seen anybody get through difficult times just sitting on their couch saying, I'm just going to wait it out. You got to take action and you got to move through it.
You're the best. You're the best. I really value that advice and just the conversation that we had today, Shawn. So thank you so much. I'm going to promote the heck out of this because I think there was a lot of value there, especially what you said about feeding the machine. I thought that was really exciting. So I want to thank you again. And everyone, I hope you have a beautiful rest of the day. You can go to the Elevate webpage. Dr. Shawn has generously offered a bonus there for you, as well as you can also get the replay and transcripts to all of the other incredible conversations that we've had. And we'll see you next time on the Elevate series. Thanks so much.